so to convert from standard form to a linear form, we're going to convert to slope-intercept form. Yep, so that's going to go under method 1, convert to slope-intercept form. What is slope-intercept form? Instead of writing it out, what is slope-intercept form? Yep, so we are going to rearrange to y equals mx plus b. Alright, so we're going to rearrange our equation. So what we want to do is we want to make this a y equals. So we want to go from this form to this form. So if I cover up my y, in order, what has to move first? That ax, right? So step number 1. We are going to move that ax, and how would we move that whole thing? Because we're moving this whole block over. What property, what operation are we going to use to move that ax? Or addition or subtraction, depending on if a is positive or negative. So we'll use addition or subtraction to move it to the other side of the equal sign. All right, so that will give us by equals minus ax plus c, right? So how do I separate the b and the y? What operation is going on here? What operation? So addition, subtraction, multiplication, division. If this is a number, if b is a number, if it's 2, 3, what operation is it when they're stuck to each other? Multiplication. Like if I had 2y, how do I separate them? Division. All right, so I am going to, in order to separate the b from the y, I have to divide, right? Yeah. But if I divide this by b, then what do I have to do to everything else? Do the same thing. So if this gets divided by b, then everything else has to get divided by b. Not just one term, everything. So when we do multiplication or division, everything has to be multiplied or divided. So step number 2. Step 2. Step 2, everything gets divided by b. Whatever b is, everything gets divided by it. Everything. Everything gets divided by b. And everything is awesome. If everything gets divided by b, then everything is awesome. All right, then last step. This is what, step 3? Once you do that, all right, so step 3. Now, once we've done that, we're in slope graph our y-intercept. Hold on. Graph y-intercept and use the slope to plot a second point on the line. Then you're just going to connect your dots. All right, we all have method number 1 down.
Yes.
All right, so now let's look at method number 2. My fingers are too fat to move it on the screen. All right, so method number 2. Yep. All right, so method 2 is to find and graph the x and y intercepts. Method 2, find and yep, write it in that little box. Find and graph the x and y intercepts. That's what we're going to do for this one. That's how we're going to graph it. So every line has how many x-intercepts? How many times does it cross the x-axis? Once. How many y-intercepts does a line have? One. So if we can find the x-intercept and find the y-intercept, that gives us 2 points on the line. And we connect those 2 points, we're good to go. So our first one is to find the x-intercept. So our x-intercept is where we cross the x-axis. What is the y-coordinate for any x-intercept? 0. So if we substitute 0 in for y, well, it'll allow us to find x. All right, so if we substitute, so let's see, so it says to find the x-intercept. So to find the x-intercept, we're going to substitute 0 and for y, and then we'll be able to get x all by itself. We'll be able to solve for x. That's step 1, or that's to find the x-intercept. All right, so now to find the y-intercept, what do you think we're going to do? Solve? Well, we already solved for x. We're going to solve for y. So to find, the y-intercept, what's the x-coordinate for any y-intercept? 0. So to find the y-intercept, we're going to substitute 0 in for x and solve for y. Guess what? Once we do that, once we solve for x, that gives us our x-intercept. When we solve for y, that gives us our y-intercept. Connect the dots, and you're done. All right, so open up on the inside. We have two graphs, right? So we are going to solve this. The first one, we're going to use method 1. And then on the other side, we're going to use method 2. So we have 3x plus 5y equals 15, correct? All right, so under method 1, what's the first thing that we need to do? What's our first step?
Bring the 3x over.
Right, we need to take our first term and move it over. So we're moving this whole block.
So subtract 3x and then do it to the same side.
Yep.
5y equals 15 minus 3x.
Right, so we're going to move this whole thing. Pay attention. So Angela just said it, but what operation are we going to use to move that 3x? What operation? Addition, subtraction, multiplication, division. Subtraction. So we're going to subtract it. If we subtract it from the left, what do we have to do to the right? Subtract it.
That would give us 5y equals negative 3x plus 15.
Right. Our goal is to put it in slope-intercept form, and our slope and x come before our y-intercept.
So that we can divide.
All right. What are we dividing?
5y.
Are we dividing by the 5y, or what are we doing?
Not dividing
By our b term, right? So just the 5. If we divide the left side by 5, what do we have to do to everything?
Now would give us y equals.
So our 5's cancel, so we're left with just y.
It
And then-
gives us y equals negative 3 times x plus 3.
And then 15 divided by 5 is 3. All right, so now we're in slope-intercept form, right? So now we can graph. So what's our y-intercept?
3.
3. 3 is our y-intercept. And then we have our point on our y-axis at positive 3. How do we get another point on the line?
Down 3.
Go down 3,
Over 5.
and then to the right or to the left?
Right.
Go to the right 5 because that's a positive 5.
And then we get our line.
And then you have your line. Does everyone have that graph? All right, so now we're going to use method 2. So our first thing is we need to find our y-intercept, right? All right, so how do we find our y-intercept?
Divide by 3.
How do we find our y-intercept? How do we find our y-intercept?
Divide by 3.
We're doing method 2. How do we find our y-intercept? Substitute. Substitute.
0 after x.
Substitute 0 in for x. So we're going to have 3 times 0 plus 5y equals 15. What's 3 times 0?
So just do 5y
we have 5y equals 15. Can we solve for y? How do we separate the 5 from the y?
I just 5. That gives us 3.
Y equals 3. So our y-intercept is
3.
3. Now let's find our x-intercept. So how do we find our x-intercept?
We would put 0 for 5.
We're going to find our x. So we're going to put all right, so we're going to substitute 0 in for y because we're finding our x-intercept, and our y-coordinate is always 0. So 5 times 0 is, so that goes away, so we have 3x equals 15. So now what? We're going to divide by 3 because we want to find what x equals. And so x equals 5. So now on your x-axis, plot 5. So now you have 2 dots. So what do you notice after you connect those 2 dots? How do the 2 lines compare?
That's the same.
They are the same, right?
That's the same.
They are the same. So it doesn't matter which way you solve, you're going to get the same answer.